First thing to say is I'm absolutely buzzing with how this transfer window has gone, as I'm sure so many of you guys are as well. It's been, for me, probably a 9 out of 10. I don't think it could have gone any better. We've addressed the major issues within our squad. We've brought in what has the potential to be a world-class winger in Nicolas Pepe. And I think this window all round has exceeded expectations. Yesterday was brilliant for me. And I want to talk about our incomings before the outgoings as well, of course. So I think I've pretty much covered Nicolas Pepe, but to get him into the team is a fantastic addition, and I'm thoroughly looking forward to seeing him play. But the big coup for me was Kieran Tierney. To see him coming yesterday after the speculation has gone on throughout the course of the summer, and it's been such a long and dragged out process, to see us finally get it over the line for 25 million for a fullback that should last us for over a decade, hopefully. It's brilliant business, and I think Arsenal have to be credited for looking at the long term. We've brought in two 18-year-olds, a 22-year-old and a 23-year-old, as well as adding experienced heads in areas of the pitch where we've needed to. So I'm really pleased in that sense that Arsenal are addressing these casualties within the team and looking towards the next 10 years as well. So that's a real big bonus. But Kieran Tierney, although he's going to miss the start of the season for injury, I think he's exactly what we need. Seeing his first interview, very humble, very down-to-earth lad. And the way he's going to bomb up the pitch, provide crosses, and also do defensive work as well, going to be a huge asset to this team. And it shouldn't be forgotten that we still do have Kolasinac in the squad, and he's going to be a very valuable asset for me. And in my opinion, having Tierney out for the start of the season obviously isn't ideal, but you would hope it's going to bring out the best in Kolasinac, who wants to stake a claim in this team, who's going to want to provide fierce competition for Tierney when he does eventually regain full fitness. So hopefully it will bring out the best in these two players, and Kolasinac is a valuable asset. And I do think it's a bit crazy that people really don't rate this guy, because going forward I think he's probably one of the most powerful wide men in the league. I'm not sure if he's a fullback or if he's a winger, but he's a very, very useful outlet on that left-hand side. And I'm all round really excited about this. I'm really excited about Martinelli as well at 18. I'm excited about Saliba next season. But the big one, I suppose, that we weren't really expecting to come in is, of course, David Luiz. Seeing his transfer come up the day before transfer deadline day, I couldn't really get my head around it. It was I didn't know how to react, to be honest. At first I was like, what? I'm not too sure how I feel about this one, but I think that was the initial reaction, because of course we were linked to the likes of Regani, Upamecano. I've probably butchered his name there, as I always do, but it was a bit deflated to go from those players to David Luiz. But I think we've got to be realistic and be happy with what we've got here. I'm much happier with Arsenal having got David Luiz for a fee of £8 million rather than bidding 40 million for Regani, who potentially might not work out. I know Juventus fans are certainly, they wanted to see the back of him, so that doesn't really bode too well initially. But he could have worked out. I mean, that's not to say that Regani could have been a great player for Arsenal, but with David Luiz, we know exactly what we're getting in the short term. He's 32 years old, and I know a lot of people are turning their noses up at the fact that he's in his 30s, which for me I think is crazy. He's 32 years old, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's ancient. There seems to be this real stigma attached to players that go over 30 that suddenly their footballing career is dying down. And you know, I wouldn't argue against the fact that Chelsea have had his better years, but I do still think we're getting a player that is capable of playing at the very top of English football, and the fact that he's such a good ball-playing centre-half should bring out the best in Xhaka and should bring out the best in Rob Holding, who's trying to emulate that ball-playing centre-half type of style. So I'm very excited by his addition, and I think he's going to work really well in this Arsenal team. Defensively, of course, we know he can be a bit erratic, but that's nothing we're not used to, so it should be exciting to see how that plays out. Obviously, I do worry a little bit about the potential of a Socrates and David Luiz partnership. I don't think that's going to be our first choice partnership. I do think it's going to be Holding as the main focus in defence, and then it'll be one of David Luiz or Socrates, or possibly Mustafi, as we haven't got rid of him yet. But I do still think Mustafi is a viable option at right back, given how unconvincing Maitland-Niles has been there in recent weeks. But I was lucky enough to talk to the son of Chelsea regarding this topic, and he's kindly submitted a video to the channel regarding David Luiz. So here are Dan's thoughts on the transfer of David Luiz from Chelsea to Arsenal.
Hello there, Arsenal fans. My name is Daniel Charles and I run a YouTube channel called Son of Chelsea. James has kindly asked me to come on here and give you my opinions on the David Luiz transfer to your club, giving my opinions on it, and also the good and bad traits of Luiz as a player, and all of that stuff. And I'm sure, like you guys, pretty shocked by the transfer. A lot of us did not expect this at all. It happened very quickly. And it is going to be a miss for Chelsea. He's a player that has garnered a lot of affection at the club in his 2 periods at the club, because of course he went away to PSG. has won a lot of silverware, has had some amazing nights for Chelsea, and I think that's what he'll bring to Arsenal in terms of a winning mentality. He knows what to do at the biggest occasions. He's been there, seen it, done it, and I think that will help an Arsenal squad that maybe lacks some of that. As well, you've needed a defender. It's been pretty much the big thing, I think, for Arsenal, and it has shocked me a bit it's taking you this long. Now, unfortunately, you're taking one of our better defenders, which is frustrating, but, you know, at 32, even on my channel, I did make a video sort of saying that I think that, personally, for us, where we are at the moment, it probably is a good deal, considering we've got younger defenders coming through, but for Arsenal, you desperately need to strengthen in that area, and I think Luiz will bring a certain level of improvement to that area. My worry for him, and there's always been a worry for a lot of people and Chelsea fans, is he does have to have lapses in concentration. He can get caught out. He can be put out of position and will leave gaps. And I just wonder, will he have the big impact that Arsenal need in that position? Will he have the leadership required? He certainly is a big character that a lot of fans fall in love with, but will he have that impact? You know, he does concede a lot of fouls. He sort of goes for the man rather than the ball a lot of the time, and that can sort of, as I say, either he concedes a foul in a bad position or he's out of position and, you know, you're left exposed, which Arsenal have been in a lot of cases, especially last season. But he does have that quality. I think moving forward, I think of those long passes he makes, which have been brilliant for Chelsea over the years, especially finding the likes of Pedro, who run in. And if you can get the likes of Aubameyang and, of course, Pepe now, with the pace they have running in behind defences, and they can connect with Luiz, and Luiz can find them at a regular rate, that can be really good for you going forward. And I think can be a really attribute to an already impressive attack. So I think that's what Luiz will bring. As I say, that experience, that know-how, and a player who can play with the ball out from the back as well, which I think is, of course, so key at the top level now. So I'm disappointed because, of course, you know, I never want to see any Chelsea player go to Arsenal, and I'm sure you're the same with us. So it is frustrating. I'm sure he will improve you. I don't think he's going to be the complete answer, because I think, you know, I look at his age and I probably, in my opinion, would say he's got one good year left in him. But that one good year could get you back in the Champions League, so you never know. But yeah, those are my opinions on it. I'm interested to hear your opinions. Thank you, James, for letting me come on the channel and give my opinions. If you are interested, I know it's unlikely, but if you are interested, come and check out my channel, Son of Chelsea, where I talk all things Chelsea and football, giving my opinions. So thank you guys for watching. Follow me on Twitter at Son of Chelsea. Also, make sure to subscribe to AFC Game by Game. Great channel here that I've watched for a number of years, and James is a really cool guy. So I hope his channel continues to grow over the years. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again.
Now, from what Dan's saying there, it does sound like we're getting a very resolute option in central defence, and I honestly think it's a perfect addition. With the sales of Alex Iwobi, a player that wasn't going to play for the club again, and a player in Dominic Thompson, who hadn't already played for the club, we've already raised 8 million in funds from the sales of those two, so David Luiz has been paid for from those player sales, and it has to be said that Arsenal have done some very good business in the transfer window regarding outgoings this season, also shipping off the likes of Christian Bielik for £10 million to Derby, very good bit of business there, and Eddie Nketiah going on loan to Leeds, which is a perfect loan for me, in my opinion. He's going to be playing under a manager that has a philosophy that we like to play as well, that really good playing out from the back style of football, exciting, expansive football, which should bring out the best in Eddie Nketiah. He's used to it from playing at Arsenal. I do think he's going to bag a hatful of goals in the Championship. I sincerely hope he does as well, because if he does, he'll come back next season ready to compete with Aubameyang and Lacazette, which is something that really excites me, and he's got all the credentials, the ingredients to be a top player, and I really hope this loan works out for him. I think it's a better call for him going to Leeds rather than Bristol City. I just think it's the perfect move for him, and maybe it's something we should have been doing with a few of our other players in the past couple of years, but it's a great move for him. I sincerely hope he gets the game time and the goals that he thoroughly deserves and comes back a more rounded player. Now, I want to talk about a few of the outgoings as well. Eddie Nketiah is one that I've just mentioned, but as well, Alex Iwobi, late to the party on this one. I think I've already given my view on it already, but the way he's left, and that video he did shortly after his announcement at Bordeaux, where he took off the Arsenal shirt and put on the Bordeaux shirt, it's so distasteful. And I know that he's been advised by someone to do that, and he's probably not really given it a second thought, but at some point, it should have crossed his mind that this is a bad idea. When it's whether it's when the video's being shot, whether he's taking off the shirt, whether it's in the edit and someone he's watching it back. At some point, he probably would have thought that's a bad idea. And looking back at that in a few years' time, he's probably really going to regret that decision. And it is incredibly distasteful, as I say, towards Arsenal fans, to the club, not just supporters, to a club that has stuck by him throughout injuries. On the flip side, Koscielny played through a lot of injuries and reportedly turned down the likes of Bayern Munich to continue to play for us. Was a great captain whilst he was here. I do think he was a very good servant to the club. Gave 9 years of his career to Arsenal, won numerous trophies with us, and he was, a massive part of my Arsenal supporting life. Joined Arsenal in 2010 when I was 14. He's leaving when I'm 23. That part of being a football fan, that age, is really important, and it's a real shame that one of my heroes essentially has left the club in the way that he has. He was honestly the very last person I would have thought would leave the club in this manner, and I don't think there's any way back for him to get a coaching role or anything at Arsenal in the future. He's done this so badly. He's done it so badly. But I'm pretty sure there was stuff that was said behind closed doors last season, and that obviously he's not happy about. He doesn't suddenly go from being a model professional to a kid that's throwing his toys out the pram overnight. So we'll probably never know what's going on there. We might do in about 20 years, but it's he was under contract and he should remain professional. That's my view. And just the video, the way he left the club, it's not on. It's really poor from him. And obviously the other big outgoing is Alex Iwobi. Actually, just before I get onto Alex Iwobi, Carl Jenkinson's left the club as well, and the way he's conducted himself in comparison to the way Koscielny's conducted himself is spot on, and it's a real model to anyone that is leaving a club. That's the way you do it. The message he sent out was fantastic, and it was really respectful. And as well, I think Arsenal's announcement of Kieran Tierney was incredibly respectful towards Celtic. They were very clear in the announcement. They got Tierney to talk about Celtic, his roots growing up, the fact he was a Celtic boy. I think that's incredibly respectful, and I think it's very classy that the club have done that as well. Very classy of Carl Jenkinson to leave the club in the way he has, after what has been, let's face it, a very frustrating time for him. Yes, he's playing for his boyhood club. It's the club he loves, and everyone, it's quite easy to joke about him living the dream. But he's a footballer, and he'll want to play football. So it will have been frustrating for him, no matter he was playing at Arsenal or whoever. And I think that move to Notts Forest is perfect for him. So I wish him all the best of luck there. And he's been a great player. A great servant to Arsenal Football Club. Whether he's a great player is completely up to you. But I do think in 2012-13 and 2013-14, he massively improved from the player he was in 2011-12, and probably should have had a few more chances. And I think if he had regular game time last season, he'd have been a more useful option at right back. Getting on to Alex Iwobi, another player that's going to divide opinion and cause controversy, but we've got rid of him for a reported fee of £40 million, and we're all talking about how much we love Jenkinson and the fact that he's left, but as well, let's not forget Alex Iwobi has been here for 16 years. He's been here literally from a little boy to a grown man, and it does kind of pull at your heartstrings to see him leave the club. And I am a little bit gutted, I won't lie. It came out of nowhere, really, Everton's bid coming in, and as much as they want to say that he was their first choice, that's definitely not true. They've not got Zaha, and they've gone in for Iwobi at the last minute because they couldn't get Zaha in. So I think they're getting a very good player, and I think it's interesting that Marco Silva was very quick to point out that he wants to play him as a winger straight away. And I think if you're going to get the best out of Alex Iwobi, you need to be playing him as a number 10, because whenever he played on the left wing for me last season, he frustrated the life out of me, and it's no coincidence that he plays for Nigeria as a number 10, and he had some of his better games for Arsenal as a number 10. So I do honestly think if we'd have kept hold of him, he could have been a long-term successor to Mesut Ozil, and had he played in that number 10 role with Pepe, with Nelson around him, with Aubameyang, Lacazette up top, I think we could have got a very good player on our hands. But the fact of the matter is, for me, he did play the majority of his games on the left-hand side, didn't convince from the start when he played there, worked incredibly hard, and I think that's the underlying thing that I want to mention about Alex Iwobi. Really did give his all. I remember when he came off the bench in games last season, he would run. His pressing was fantastic, and he would have been a very useful option to have off the bench, but he wasn't a starter, and he wasn't quite at the level we need to be starting at Arsenal. And I don't think he was any better than he was when he first broke through, to be honest with you. When he first came through, we had this flair player, this really exciting player on our hands, and I just don't think he's massively improved from that player he was when he was about 19 years old, which is a real shame, because I do think he has all the ingredients to be a very good footballer, and I sincerely hope that he gets the opportunity at Everton in his favoured role and can be a hugely useful asset to them, apart from when they play us, of course. But I think it's a good move for him, and I hope he does get a lot of game time there. I'm sure he will, and playing with the likes of Sigurdsson, Richarlison, Walcott as well. It's an exciting Everton side. And I sincerely hope he has a very good season there, because he certainly deserves to. He's a player that is humble and will give his all for whatever team he's playing for. So it's a shame to see him leave. He is a boyhood Arsenal fan, and he's got to do what's best for his footballing career. And I think this is a good move for him, and for us to get 40 million odd for him, it's fantastic bit of business from our point of view, and that money can be reinvested for hopefully someone like Upamecano. Again, I've probably said his name wrong, but if we can get something like that in with the funds from Iwobi, if not in January, then next summer as well, that'd be hugely useful. And then to see Saliba come back in, our defence is looking very, very promising, I have to say, even though at the minute it does still look quite erratic. But with Saliba coming in, with Rob Holding coming back from injury, our fullbacks in Bellerin and Tierney, we've got a defence that is growing and should last for the next 7 years at least. So very excited by that. And next, I guess I want to talk about this game on Sunday against Newcastle, which I'm absolutely buzzing for. This is not going to be an easy game. Whatever you think of Newcastle under new manager Steve Bruce, that's a mental appointment, I've got to say that. I can completely understand Newcastle's frustrations to go from Benitez to Bruce. That's horrible, to be honest. But they've made some very astute signings this window, and going there is always a tough game. And the fact they've signed Andy Carroll just makes me even more worried, because you can definitely see him scoring a goal against us. But I think with the players that we've got in the team, I'd really expect us to be getting 3 points in this match. And obviously I'm buzzing for the start of the Premier League to come back. There's some really exciting games coming on this weekend. But I want to see us make a statement from the first game. I just want to see a nice, clean, tidy, professional performance, and hopefully a good win. No erratic defending, which I know we're probably going to see in this game, but it's going to take a while for these players to bed together. We've made a lot of signings, and it's going to take time for these players to gel, to work together, but I'm very excited by the players that we've got. I'm not too sure what team I'll be starting, to be honest, because I think there's a lot of problems within our squad still. Bern Leno picks himself in goal, but the initial issue for me is who's going to play at right back, because without Hector Bellerin, I'm not overly convinced by Maitland-Niles, to be honest with you. And as we've still got Mustafi on the books, defensively I do still think he can do a job in that position. There's less responsibility for him there, as opposed to centre-half. So I would possibly be looking to play Mustafi at right back, and then a centre-back pairing of, I guess it's going to have to be Luiz and Socrates, or potentially Socrates and Callum Chambers. And I know people are saying that Chambers is an option for us at centre-back, but people are very quick to forget that he played the majority of his games at central defensive midfield for Fulham, so I'm not sure he's entirely comfortable going back into a centre-back role just yet. Of course, he's played his games there in pre-season, but I'm not too sure if that's actually a realistic option for us. One player I definitely think is worth a shout in this game is Joe Willock, who has really shone throughout pre-season, particularly in those games against Real Madrid and Barcelona, racking up a lot of praise as well from the likes of Zinedine Zidane. And I know a lot of Arsenal fans aren't putting him in their predicted 11s for the game on Sunday, but I think it has to be said that he is having the effect that Guendouzi had in the team this time last year. So if he can really kick on, and he's been in and around the first team for about 2 years now, I think he's really within a good shout of starting this game, and it could be potentially him and Torreira, or him and Xhaka, or him and Ceballos. Either way, he's a very exciting player that I really think could fill the void that Aaron Ramsey has left in the team. And it's worth noting as well that we've lost a lot of sentimental players this year. We've lost Jenkinson, we've lost Koscielny, we've lost Welbeck, we've lost Aaron Ramsey, and this really... Joe Willock is a product of our youth academy. Iwobi's another player we've lost as well, so he could be that player, that real beacon of hope that Arsenal fans look to, that really grow attached to emotionally. I do think he could be that player, and I really think he's got a great claim to be starting in this game against Newcastle on Sunday. I'm not too sure Ceballos will start for us just yet, nor do I think Pepe will start, as much as I want him to, and Lacazette is reportedly out injured, so this is where I think things get pretty interesting from an Arsenal point of view. I do think it could be a three behind Aubameyang of Nelson, Ozil and Mkhitaryan, which doesn't fill me with a lot of hope, to be honest. Mkhitaryan Mkhitaryan hasn't looked particularly good in pre-season, and I'm amazed that he survived this transfer window, to be honest. I think it'd be crazy not to play Pepe, given that we've paid so much money for him, and he looks fully fit from the videos we've seen of him. I sincerely hope that he does start this game, because Nelson, Ozil and Pepe is a completely different ball game to Nelson, Ozil, Mkhitaryan, and that three behind Aubameyang would fill me with a lot of excitement. And with Iwobi leaving, Nelson, Smith Rowe and Martinelli are going to get a lot of game time this season. One of them might go on loan. I think it'll probably be Smith Rowe, possibly to Leipzig, which I wouldn't be at all against. But I am excited by the likes of Nelson, who I think has a much better ceiling than someone like Alex Iwobi does. And as well, those three players, or at least two of them, in Nelson, Saka and as well Smith Rowe. I completely forgot to mention Saka. I mean, these are proper wingers, which is something that Iwobi... He wasn't quite a proper winger. He wasn't what I would regard as a proper winger, whereas these players are proper wingers. They will hug the touchline, and I'm really, really excited for what they could potentially offer to us in the near future. But that would be my team to start. So reading that back, I'd go Leno in goal, Mustafi at right back. I think it will be Socrates and David Luiz possibly, and then Kolasinac at left back with a midfield two of Xhaka and Torreira. On the right, I'm going to go with Pepe. Hopefully he starts. Ozil and then Nelson on the left and Aubameyang up top. That's a team that really does excite me. Really excites me. But I've probably got that completely wrong, and Emery will go with something entirely different. But it's a game that I want us to see. I want to see us win professionally, as I say. Let me know your team lineups in the comments box below. Let me know your score predictions. I'm going to be incredibly optimistic and say 2-0 to the Arsenal. Please do drop a like on this video if you have enjoyed it. Thanks to Daniel as well from Son of Chelsea. Make sure you go and check him out. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description box below. Does some great Chelsea content. I'm saying that as an Arsenal fan, but if you do like all-round football content, make sure you go and check him out. Subscribe to AFC Game by Game if you are new to the channel. And as always, I'll speak to you very, very soon. See you later, guys.